I'm Annette Insdorf, delighted to welcome you to the interviews for 92 Wise Real Pieces. We're here with Milcho Manchevski, the director of Willow. And Milcho, you know how much I admire your first feature, Before the Rain, which is on the syllabus of my Columbia University course, Analysis of Film Language. Many MFA film students have been inspired by its haunting three stories that intertwine a young Macedonian monk, a London photojournalist, and ethnic tensions between Macedonians and Albanians. After it won the Golden Lion at the '94 Venice Film Festival, it was one of the nominees for the Best Foreign Language Film Oscar. You've directed many shorts and features in between, including American ones, and returned to Macedonia to make Willow. It's the Academy Award entry from North Macedonia for Best International Feature. You also returned to the triptych structure of Before the Rain. Could you tell us about the origin of Willow?
The origin of Willow, I was looking at folklore tradition in medieval Macedonia. And I was looking at pagan beliefs, and I started contrasting them with contemporary life in a city like Skopje, the capital of Macedonia, which is a bustling, ugly city of 750,000 people. And so the beginning was actually formal. It was about the form of a thesis and an antithesis in a way. The story of motherhood or parenthood, of striving to have children, of all the issues that come with that, of the conflict between the individual or the family and society, they all developed as I started going down that road. So at the beginning, it was just this fog of thinking about medieval, almost primal impulses in the life of people who seem so different from us, but are actually just like us, and then contrasting it to the life today.
I mean, I really appreciated your cinematic treatment of thwarted maternity. You know, these are characters who desperately want to have a child. And in each of the three stories, it's just very difficult to happen. Now, are any of the three tales based in stories that you've heard, or are they primarily invented?
Well, both. The first story, the one that's set in the Middle Ages, that one is based on folk tales, on fairy tales, on stories that I've heard growing up, even though I cannot pinpoint specifically which one it is, but it's archetypes that sort of float in the air or run through my mind. And to me, it sounds familiar. The characters, the situation, the comeuppance, the promise, they all feel as if, to me, they feel as if they come from something very familiar. Then the second and the third story are much more realistic and even naturalistic. They're grittier, and they are based, they're not based on real events, but once I started working on them, I did a lot of research. And in that research, I found people who had encountered situations like the situations in Willow. And I learned a lot from talking to them. For example, from women who have been trying to have children, from families who have been trying to have children for years, to the point where I even use some of their lines, like literally lifted them from our conversations and put them in the film. So not directly based on real events, but actually reality creeps in big time during the process of making the film, writing it and then directing it.
Yeah, I was wondering, because you make these wonderfully subtle connections that you interweave in a triadic structure. Is it all in the script because you're the writer-director, or did you discover magical things while shooting or in post-production?
Both. I used to feel I've always liked doing your homework. I was a straight A student, so you do your homework, you prepare, you do your storyboards, you do your rehearsals, so you're not surprised on the set when everybody's nervous and the sun is going down and you haven't finished your shoot for the day and the producer's pulling his hair because he's running out of money. So like, do your homework so that whatever you do on the set is just going to be a nice little bonus on top of everything that you've prepared. So a lot of it is in the script, even the details. But I guess as I get older, I feel more comfortable on the set. I feel more comfortable with the process of trying to take this juggernaut in a certain direction, like 50, 60, 80 people, a lot of money, a lot of technology, a lot of egos, and you try to take them into a direction where you create something beautiful, something that makes people feel warmer when around the heart when they watch it. So I'm beginning to feel more comfortable doing that, especially on Willow. It was the team was just fantastic. So that now I feel that as if I can come up with things while creating, while working on the set. So the set is not just an execution of what you've prepared beforehand. The shoot itself becomes part of the actual creation, part of the actual magic, which to me is a little bit newish as an experience.
You're not merely a filmmaker. You've published several books of fiction, and I appreciate your photography. It's collected in 2 books of photographs, Street from '99, 5 Drops of Dream from 2010, which accompanied exhibitions of the same works. And then in 2015, you published the book Pictures, Words, and Lies. Behind me is a book that compiles your various artistic enterprises. My question is, how does your work as a photographer inform Willow and other films? Would you be making it the same way if you were not a photographer?
I don't know. Good question. See, photography to me is closer to poetry. It's very simple. You don't have to explain it. You work on it, you create it, and it's finished. It's there. It's done. It's a piece of emotion. With film, it's a whale. It takes forever. You have to explain it so many times.
Forgive me, I have to ask you, do you mean whale, WHALE, or whale, WHAIL?
Whale as the animal, the big mammal.
Okay. For some people, making a film is a whale, a kind of scream. Go ahead.
Well, that too, but yeah, no, I mean it's bulky, it's slow. It takes years to make a film, and you have to keep explaining it. You explain it to the financier, you explain it to the actress, to the DP, to the editor, to the composer. So you keep talking and explaining. And with the photography, you just, you keep your mouth shut, you take the picture. If it's good, it's good. You put it on the wall. If it's not, it stays in your computer, in the drawer. So in that respect, I appreciate the fact that it's intuitive, it's quiet, and often it's not even narrative. With film, at least, the 2-hour narrative film that we're talking about, usually, it has to be narrative. You need a story usually. With a photograph, Not necessarily, there could be a story, but sometimes it's just abstract, and it's refreshing to me. It satisfies a different part of my creative being, and it keeps me alive.
And also, it enables you to do something on your own terms, unlike film with all the people that are involved.
Exactly.
You take that photograph, you don't have to ask anyone's permission, you don't have to find the financing, it lives.
Exactly.
Now, Before the Rain was the first entry for the Academy Awards from Macedonia, a country located between Serbia, Bulgaria, Greece, and Albania, and it used to be a region of Yugoslavia. Why is Willow officially the entry from North Macedonia rather than Macedonia?
Well, the country moved up north. I'm joking. No, Macedonia officially changed its name last year, or was it the year before? So it's the same country, it's the same everything, same language, Macedonian language, but the official name of the country is no more the Republic of Macedonia, it's the Republic of North Macedonia. So the constitution changed, the passports changed, everything, and it's part of a compromise over a complicated conflict between Macedonia and Greece that's now hopefully over.
Okay. But there's going to be no entry from South Macedonia for Academy Awards, right?
No, not, at least not this year.
Okay. And I found the title of your film, Willow, evocative. And I loved the review in Variety by Jessica Kiang, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, where she said that this was less a story of the willow's weeping than of its ability to bend with almost infinite suppleness without breaking.
Yeah.
Now, did you choose the title for that interpretive possibility, or did you have other ideas?
Well, several reasons. One is that the willow tree is part of mythology, of the Macedonian mythology, but not only. Different cultures in Europe, and not only in Europe, speak of willow in their folklore, in their mythology, in their fairy tales. So that's one reason, and part of the film takes place in centuries past. Another reason was that the weeping part. Again, in Macedonian, it's žalna vrba, which is literally translated as sad willow. So very close to weeping willow. And the film is a tragedy with a happy ending. So there's a lot of that. Ultimately, it's about the fact that the branches go down, but which is unusual. They usually go up towards the sky, towards the sun. They go down, but they sort of close a circle with the roots, and they don't break. They survive no matter what happens. So yes, that was part of the reason why we went with it. It just felt sort of right. It's poetic without being too sentimental, I guess.
I agree. Now, I see you as a rather international Renaissance man. You were born in Macedonia. You studied film at Southern Illinois University. You've divided your life between your native Skopje and New York, including a stint as a professor of film at NYU. Now, you were directing music videos in the U.S., like the award-winning video for Arrested Development's Tennessee back in '92. Yeah. And after Before the Rain, you made 5 features, besides Willow, Bikini Moon, Mothers, which also had the triadic structure, Shadows, and of course, Dust in 2001. I'm a big fan of that one. You've directed shorts. You directed an episode of HBO's The Wire. How do you identify yourself culturally? Do you consider yourself more of a Macedonian, or have you become something of a New Yorker?
I identify as an outsider. I'm a bit of an outsider everywhere, which is fine, I guess. In a way, some things are more difficult when you're an outsider, but also you feel sort of more true. You feel a little clearer and cleaner when you're an outsider. I guess I've lived in New York for more than 35 years now. So that's where I spent my adult life. And whenever I make a film in Macedonia, basically I return and shoot there and work there. So I guess I'm a New Yorker who migrates to Macedonia to to make art. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can make art anywhere. You can make art in the desert. It's yes, you need other people. You need the feedback. But you can do it anywhere. I don't know. I don't know what the answer to your question is. I guess like 50-50 or none of the above.
Why don't we just we'll call you bicontinental for the moment.
Sounds good.
So back to the film. In the third section, Rodna's sister Katerina, who's a secondary character in part 2, gets her own story. Right. And I couldn't help but feel a connection to a work that I know we both admire, and that's Kieślowski's Decalogue, where you very often have a character whose background figure in one becomes foreground in another. Are you still feeling the inspiration of Kieślowski in your work?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It was, I mean, I think the Decalogue is the Sistine Chapel of cinema. Basically, it's one of the most important works ever created in film, and you can tackle it from so many different directions, and that would lead you to talk about the heart of cinema. I mean, for example, the fact that it's from a production point of view, it's so simple. It's so simple. I mean, it's like just in terms of like how expensive it is to make and how many people you need and how you need just a few locations, but it's all upstairs. It's all in how you connect things. And part of the beauty is, and it's just almost a detail, but such a beautiful detail that it gives you hope. It wakes you up. The fact that a character from this story appears here and then reappears here, and it's all done with such light touch. It's almost like a little joke, like a little poetic joke. So yeah, I mean that's where I don't know if that's the place where I saw this approach for the first time, but it's certainly the place where it impressed me the most. And then I keep working as I'm inspired by that. So yeah, the fact that Katarina shows up. She's a supporting character in the second story, and then she takes over the third story. But then also there's we play a little bit with time. The second story begins. The third story begins before where the second story started, and ends after it. So it's fun.
You have this playful aspect. It's in Before the Rain, too. I had to see the film twice before I figured out what the time frame was. But I'm going to suggest that you are obviously inspired not only by Kieślowski's stylistic, formal aspect, the narrative structure, creating your own self-enclosed, coherent world where a character pops up here or there. I think it's also because Kieślowski's Decalogue, which I'm showing in its entirety in my class at Columbia this semester, it deals with some of the primal questions of human experience. These are, after all, 10 one-hour films loosely based on the Ten Commandments, but the first 4 incredibly domestic in sphere, sort of a father-son, and then, mother-daughter later. And that's what you're doing in Willow. I mean, one of the most primal elements of life in its continuity is this question of a generation, and can you somehow create another for the next generation? Is there some compensatory world where a death can be balanced out by a life? I'm guessing that those are important questions for you too.
Absolutely, and you know what's interesting is when I don't work from an agenda. I don't work from a message. I seldom don't know what my films mean until after they're finished. But they're not random. Things are not random. Things are not, you don't just throw things in there. They're you weigh them very carefully, but the weighing, finding the balance is intuitive rather than rational. So when the films and the stories and the characters in my films run with themes like the ones you're describing, you feel that the gelling is really taking place. You feel that things hold together, and you don't have to push. They just come together and they feel right. And everybody working on the film feels the same way. So you know that the actors have extra ideas, the editor has extra ideas when things work. When you're trying to force an idea upon the story or upon a film, it feels forced. And in Willow, everything felt so light. It felt easy. And I guess that's one of the things when things work, they feel easy, which doesn't mean that you don't have to bust your behind working. It just means that the work somehow feels like clear water.
Well, it's, I think, partly because, like Kieślowski, you have a very strong, not only formal structuring, but an organic sense, a coherent sense of how a character takes on a life of her own, and that leads to another character taking on a life of her own. And suddenly you have a vivid dynamic, as opposed to merely, let's adapt everything from the script into what's on the screen. So we've come to the end of our time. I just want to congratulate you on Willow.
Well, thank you.
It finds a big audience, especially now that the Academy nomination is out there. And I wish you great luck in continuing to make movies either in Macedonia or the United States or elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Annette. Thank you.